Good afternoon. Tom Johnson, along with our mayor, Alex Rounaghi. Alex, great to see you. Got my sunglasses on. I'm actually sitting in my car on the side of the road. Wish I was at my home office, but it makes it more comfortable. But how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was going to compliment you on your sunglasses. They look good.
Well, it's sunny out, and well, let's just jump right into it. The weather's nice.
Yeah.
Um, got a 3 day weekend ahead of us. We've got you know, it stacks up like that. And what happens is the day trippers come to Laguna Beach, but people shouldn't confuse the day trippers with what is done with Visit Laguna Beach. Why don't you talk
hmm
about what the difference of those two things are?
Yeah, so I think that it gets it's sort of easy to conflate the two because in a way they're both visitors, right? People who stay at overnight hotels are visitors just as day trippers who come to the beach, don't spend any money and then go back home. They're both visitors, but beyond that, there really is a huge distinction in the sense that as residents, we want our hotels, especially during the off season times, we want high occupancy in our hotels because when our hotels have high occupancy, that means we get more transit occupancy tax, which means that's the best kind of tax because residents of Laguna Beach don't have to pay it. That allows us to fully fund our infrastructure program, which we have a lot of needs in terms of infrastructure. You know, day trippers, are really, I think, where residents go crazy during the summer, and for good reason, because we really go beyond what our capacity is in terms of the amount of people that are coming to our beaches. You really could, because growing up in Laguna Beach, I can see the difference between when I was going to the beaches in South Laguna as a kid compared to today. There are way more people, at those beaches. And earlier in the year, even before summer, there are crowds that are, beyond what someone would have believed even 15 years ago. I think the answer really is to why that's happening is you just look at what's happened around us. We've had so much development in the Great Park in Irvine. We've had Riverside County is there's been so much development there, especially over the last 5 years. So all those people there, when it's a hot day, they're going to come to the beach. And the Coastal Commission says that we cannot stop people from having access to the beach. We can't regulate parking in neighborhoods to stop people from coming to the beach. So our hands are tied. And really the question becomes, it's really easy to say, oh, let's stop, let's defund Visit Laguna. But really, that wouldn't make a difference in terms of the day trippers because their job is not to attract day trippers. And there have been reforms there as it relates to social media because I really don't think that there is value in doing a lot of, Instagram heavy social media campaigns on their part because they're trying to get overnight hotel guests, not day people going to the beach as day trippers. So it's an important distinction that requires intellectual honesty as we move forward here. And I think the key is how do we mitigate the impact of day trippers on all of us? And I can just briefly talk about an important meeting that I had because really I think this requires some level of statewide reform in collaboration with other cities like us. So this last week I had, and it was arranged by Judy Mancuso, a meeting with Halen Conrad, who's a Malibu council member, and then Lon Negretti, the mayor of Santa Monica, was also supposed to join us. She called into the meeting. And what we did is we walked around our downtown. We talked about a lot of our city manager was involved, our assistant city attorney was involved, and we talked about opportunities. Oh, God, did you say something?
No.
Okay, we talked about opportunities for collaboration because ultimately what we are dealing with is a capacity problem. When there are so many people in these summer months coming into Laguna Beach, there's very little that we can do in terms of traffic, so many different things. And so I think it's a false choice to say that you can't promote access to the beach while also being able to manage it in a better way in terms of parking in the neighborhoods and other, common sense reforms. So that's what Halen and I were talking about. And perhaps there's an opportunity for Malibu and the city of Laguna Beach to collaborate on statewide reforms with respect to the Coastal Commission on that specific issue. And we also have a shared, public safety is our number one priority. Wildfires are a huge threat in Malibu and the city of Laguna Beach. And when you have so many people in town at the same time, it really becomes a public safety issue. So are there opportunities where we can collaborate with the Coastal Commission through, maybe lobbying in conjunction with the city of Malibu to make it so that on those days when we have, public safety threats for wildfire, that we are able to have, manage our capacity more. So I think there's no easy solution here. It's easy to just, come up with a straw man and act like there's a simple solution here. There isn't. What it requires is really thoughtful, creative approaches, and I think collaborating with a city like Malibu is really the right step forward.
So suffice it to say, it's okay to not be in favor of these day trippers, or not be in favor, but to be upset about them and the impacts they have on the community. But don't misconstrue that for the good that a Visit Laguna Beach does in helping to fill our hotels, which in turn puts money back into city coffers to allow us to do other things. Correct?
Yeah, that's well put. And I also want to make it clear we don't necessarily have a problem with people coming to our beaches. I don't blame people for coming to our beaches. We have the most beautiful beaches in Southern California. What we don't like is bad behavior at our beaches where people are drinking, where there is, illegal behavior. And that's what we want to regulate is behavior or, littering, undermining our natural environment. That is our goal of what we want to stop, not necessarily people from coming to the beach.
Okay. Speaking of Laguna Beach and one of our iconic properties, which is a hotel that is not currently operating as a normal hotel would to raise funds and things. It's Hotel Laguna. It's kind of been under fire in the national news
Yes.
in recent days about their encroachment on the beach, about fines et al. Thoughts on this, and what do you know?
Yeah, so I really don't know a lot beyond probably what the public knows, and I will just tell you. So as part of this, when I was meeting with the Malibu council member, we were walking by Hotel Laguna, and I went and we went down to the beach, and I asked the staff member who was at Hotel Laguna. I said, "What's going on here? Why do we have these signs that say people don't have access to this?" And then the guy made it clear. He said that people are able to actually sit in the area. But and so I said, why don't you take the signs down? And he said, okay, well, I'm not in charge. Talk to my manager. So I said, who's your manager? So we walked up and then we met the manager. The manager was actually she was claimed to just be the manager of the upstairs area. And then at this point, I was with Erica Ritchie from the Orange County Register, and it was just a coincidence that we ran into each other. And then so Erica and I said, well, and who's the manager of the beach club? And then it was a guy named Chad, and then we said, can we get Chad's number? Then she said he's on vacation and unreachable by phone, which is a very convenient excuse. And ultimately, what I learned through all this was that the hotel was told me that there's no reason people are still allowed to enter into that area. So then what I did is I told the people who were spread out around it on the beach, I said, you're allowed to go there. They said, you're allowed to go there. I didn't rip down the signs because that would be an inappropriate thing for me to do, Tom. And our city attorney would not like that. But what I will tell you is that the Coastal Commission has sent a letter to the operator of this, and my understanding is that by Friday they're required to take down the signs. I think the berm is already down, but the signs need to be taken down by Friday, according to the enforcement letter from the Coastal Commission. I think this is a perfect example of how, you know, we are for the beach does belong to everyone. That's in the California Constitution. And for me, this is a perfect example of abuse where you can't privatize the beach. But with that being said, we can have reasonable limits as it relates to public safety issues and evacuation in the summer months, and to ensure that our beach remains, beautiful for future generations to enjoy. So that's really the goal here, is to strike that balance. And that's what we want to make the case to the Coastal Commission about, potentially in conjunction with the city of Malibu.
Okay, Mayor, thanks for that. One other thing that I think we need to get out there is to make the city effective and to operate the right ways. We have commissions, committees, and boards
Yep.
that we need volunteers for. And we've put out the word a couple of times. The city's done it. We've done it at Stu News. We're still short on a couple of people. We still
Yep.
need people to consider opportunities to help the city. What do you know about that? What's open? What do we need? How do people go about it?
Well, most of our committees have openings, and I encourage all residents who are interested in serving our city to apply because really city government works best when you have people from different perspectives who are involved with it, including people who haven't necessarily been involved in the past, but maybe have a lot of experience or just a fresh perspective that makes government work. Because I think that when you have people in government, for it to work best is for to have, different types of perspectives and people who are willing to think about things in a different way than the status quo and not just do things the way that they've always been done. I think that's really key to making recommendations to the city council as we move forward on the important initiatives that we are working on. So I encourage people to apply for city committees. I think Friday is when the applications are due. And information is on the city website. And you can always reach out to our city clerk, Anne Marie McKay, for more information.
It's a great way to have a voice in the community. Mayor, thank you so much for taking your time. I wish you a long, happy weekend. You work hard, and we appreciate it in Laguna Beach. Enjoy yourself.
Happy Memorial Day. Thanks, Tom.